Coming up on Mountain News this morning, distilleries are worried about what upcoming tariffs under the new president could mean for business. And a new project promises to bring a different kind of energy to a local power plant.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday, Mountain family. My name is Amelia Lee. Today's date, November 15th, and we are almost at 6:30 this morning. And we're also at that time where we get to check in with meteorologist Megan Duswell for a look at our forecast. Megan, we've had a warmer morning than the past few ones, which was good for me. I was quite happy about that. But I think we talked earlier, maybe it's going to get colder than it was yesterday throughout the day.
Yes, that is very true. We start off a little bit warmer, so we're not looking at those low 40s this morning. But by the time we're heading into our afternoon hours, we won't be seeing the upper 50s that we did see yesterday in the 60s in some places. And instead, we're going to see the mid to upper 50s as our high. But let's take a look at those current temperatures. Right now, we're sitting pretty at that mid to upper 40s this morning, with some places looking to be in the 50s. 50 degrees in Somerset and Jacksboro. And if you're in Monticello, well, you're quite warm, 51 degrees this morning. And we're not going to have that much of an increase today, as those high temperatures will only be in the mid to upper 50s, really focusing on that mid 50-degree mark for today. As you can see, a lot of the areas looking at that 57-degree mark. And as we look at the satellite and radar, you can still see that we do have some rain in the area, really pushing through the Virginia counties right now, but they will be clearing up. Those clouds will stay, but it will lead to a nice and drier afternoon as you're heading into those hours for today. But let's take a look at that temperature trend. Again, you're not going to see much of a change from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Really only 6 degrees difference. So go out and enjoy the weather before it gets even cooler as we're heading into it next week. I'll have more information on that coming up.
All right, Megan, thank you. Governor Andy Beshear hosted a Team Kentucky briefing yesterday and fielded a number of questions about how he plans to approach the incoming Trump administration. Beshear made it clear he's willing to work with the Trump administration so long as the policies benefit Kentucky and are legal on both state and federal levels. Beshear was also asked about a stricter immigration policy expected to be put into place.
Remember that within immigration, there's a lot of nuance. You know, there are folks that crossed over and are in the United States illegally, and that's very different from folks that are here legally through an asylum program. And wanting to make sure as we do the analysis moving forward that we recognize that nuance and ultimately react accordingly.
During his briefing, Governor Beshear also announced a huge investment for railway projects throughout the Commonwealth. President-elect Donald Trump enacted tariffs on steel and aluminum from the European Union during his first administration. This led to taxes on U.S. products in response, including a 25% whiskey tariff. From 2018 to 2021, in December of last year, the European Union suspended the whiskey tariff until March 31st of 2025. This caused American whiskey exports to plunge by 20%. Governor Andy Beshear says he is generally concerned about the tariffs.
The blessing and curse of bourbon is you can't make it overnight. And so the bourbon that's being laid down today is not going to be available until 2030 or beyond.
Governor Beshear added he hopes a president who ran on decreasing inflation and making things more affordable will not put policies in place that raise prices. Kentucky's Housing Task Force final report found the Commonwealth is short 206,000 housing units. Officials say the business is hampered by the lack of qualified trade workers, the cost of construction, and the time it takes to build. The new report highlights how this can be combated by building dense housing units like townhomes and multiplexes.
There's a lot of fees associated from the very beginning of the development stage with the raw land to get buildable lots. And then there's more fees associated for the builder on their end to produce and build the home.
State Senator Jimmy Higdon says he plans on filing legislation to address the housing shortage during next year's session. Yesterday, an announcement was made by East Kentucky Power Cooperative for multiple new projects. I was able to speak with officials about how the renovations will impact Kentuckians.
Grateful and pleased.
That's how longtime Cooper Station plant manager Philip Duncan describes his emotions regarding East Kentucky Power Cooperative's plans for new and expanded units at the Cooper Station.
We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. And, you know, just as they were excited back in those days when this place was constructed, I can see that same excitement in our employees now.
Plans for the Cooper Station include a new natural gas unit, effectively tripling the power plant's capacity. EKPC also plans to convert one of the units to use either coal or natural gas as fuel.
This is an investment in the reliability of rural Kentucky's electric service for the next couple of decades.
Continuing to promote reliable power options, especially during times folks are using a lot of electricity.
We're doing these projects with an eye toward keeping electricity as affordable, as cost competitive as we possibly can. We understand that electricity is something that everybody depends on.
EKPC officials say they are on track to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 35% by 2035.
Because one of the most important hedges in this marketplace is to make sure that you reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. There's a big focus on that, and we respect and we're going to honor that transition.
Before the announcement of plans on Thursday, officials say the Cooper Station could have closed by 2032.
Now we feel like our life for this station has been extended out well past 2030, 2040 time range.
Some construction is expected to start by 2027 and be completed by the end of 2030. In Pulaski County, Amelia Lee, WYMT, Mountain News. Outside of the Cooper Station, EKPC officials say they plan to build a new natural gas plant in Casey County, add renewable resources in Fayette and Marion counties, as well as expand energy efficiency programs. The state director for the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced 23 projects in rural Kentucky that will improve energy efficiency. 2 of those are in our area, and both are in Pike County. Cox Foods LLC will use a grant worth more than $211,000 to install display cases, replace a walk-in freezer door, and more. Ramsey Home Place LLC will use a grant worth $29,000 to install energy efficiency heat pumps. Martin County is receiving more than $95,000 in tobacco settlement funds from the Kentucky Agriculture Development Fund. The funding will be used for the County Agriculture Investment Program. The initiative works to improve and diversify current farm operations for Kentucky agriculture producers through cost share assistance. 31 high schools in Kentucky have received the prestigious College Success Award, and there were quite a few schools in our area that received the honor. The schools chosen were Barberville and Williamsburg City Schools, Corbin, Hazard, Paintsville, South Laurel, and Southwestern High Schools. The award honors public high schools that excel at preparing students to succeed in college. Former WYMT Chief Forecaster Brandon Robinson was awarded for his impact on the community. Robinson received the Outstanding Contribution Award at the Harlan County Chamber of Commerce Gala. Organizer Ann Hensley says Robinson has shown continued support for his community.
He's made himself available to MC different forums. He's MC'd this actual gala 2 or 3 times in previous years. He's always been so supportive, and not just to Harlan County, but to the entire region.
There were 11 recipients, along with Brandon Robinson, with a variety of backgrounds.
As you're heading out the door this morning, fog might be something that you encounter, especially as you're traveling over towards Virginia, where we're seeing some of the heaviest bit of this fog. 3.6 mile visibility in Grundy and Wise, looking about 2 mile visibility, but for the most of our area, you should just expect a little bit of haze on your drive this morning. But the good news is, for most of the area, you're not going to see that rain. As you can see, it's traveling towards Virginia and it's heading its way out. So in not too long, we should expect to see the drier conditions take over the afternoon hours and leading into a drier weekend with those nice temperatures as well. But speaking of temperatures, let's look at today's highs. We will be in the mid to upper 50s for today, a little bit cooler as you're heading to Wise. 50 degrees, but as you're heading off to that bus stop this morning, temperatures will be 50 degrees with those cloudy skies, and as you continue to progress through your day, those temperatures will warm up and you'll have about 56 degrees by the time you're heading home. Amelia?
All right, Megan, thank you. Well, we've got some cold weather now and winter weather, and those cold temps are right around the corner as well, which means now is the perfect time to make sure you're ready, which includes preparing your vehicle. Emergency kits are always important, regardless of the time of year, but kits need to be revised for wintertime. Officials say it's important to also have jumper cables, blankets, and water and snacks. Proper car maintenance is key, which includes making sure the battery in your vehicle is up to date.
At like 50 degrees, maybe your battery's working at 100%. If it drops down to 0, it's functioning at about 40% of normal. So you've lost 60% of your cold cranking amps. So a battery that tests fine and starts your car on a nice sunny day, you come out when it's 0, it may not start.
Remember to check your tire tread, which you can do by taking a quarter and seeing if there is space between the edge of the quarter. If you don't see space, then officials say that means your tread is fine. Thank you for joining us. The time is now 6:40. Still to come on Mountain News this morning. A relic of the past is being preserved in New York as more people take up the art of typewriting.